Good news, travelers. Switzerland's leading leisure airline, Edelweiss Air, is resuming its schedule with 2 to 3 weekly non-stop flights between Cape Town and Zurich from the 30th of September to the 5th of May 2015. And boy, are you in for a surprise. Weekly flights feature new lie-flat seats in business class and Economy Max with 15 centimeters more legroom. Log on to flyedelweiss.com or swiss.com and book your flight now.
Good morning and welcome to Passport to the World with me, Cathy Retief-Neil. Well, this morning I have, for the second time in my studio, I have Dawn Jorgensen. And Dawn's going to be talking to us. Well, we're going to be talking Turkey today, aren't we, Dawn?
We are indeed, Cathy. Thank you for having me back.
Well, I'm so pleased to have you back. The last time you were here, we had a wonderful chat about reunion, and it tickled my fancy and certainly moved to the top of my bucket list. I never thought there would be so much to see and do there. So I'm hoping you're going to entice us back, back to Turkey, because Turkey, I think, is a favourite destination of South Africans.
Definitely, and I think it's increasing in popularity. I mean, recently a few travel writers were asked to suggest favourite places. There were 10 of us, and 5 of us said that Turkey is the place you need to go. So I think that that's definitely an indicator if nothing else is.
Absolutely. And it's still a fairly inexpensive holiday, or an affordable holiday. Of course, nowhere is cheap for South Africans. We know that because of our rand exchange, but exchange rate, I should say. But Turkey, of course, now, I don't know about you, but to me, Turkey conjures up visions of, it should be things like the Ottoman Empire and the Topkapi Palace and so on, but I can't help the Trojan horse and Brad Pitt.
Well, I did see the Trojan horse, but Brad Pitt wasn't there, unfortunately. Darn. I know. I feel like I've missed out. But it's true. I found that, I walked away feeling blue looks better in Turkey. And that's kind of how I summed up my experience. As you know, I was traveling with Trafalgar on a group tour. There were 30 of us, and immediately some people would shy away from that very idea. But it was the most wonderful time. And everywhere that I went, everywhere that I looked, and every time I caught a glimpse of a blue, whether it was on a street sign or in a market or on a mosque or in a stained glass window, I just kept on thinking to myself, this is where blue belongs.
Gosh, isn't that amazing? And of course, the unique thing about Turkey is that I think something like 2/3 of it lies within, I always get this the wrong way around. A section of Turkey lies within Asia, and of course the other in Western Europe. And of course it neighbours on Greece. But I think the one thing that another preconceived idea, and there are many when you talk about Turkey, is that Greece and Turkey are very similar. They are worlds apart in every sense.
They actually are, and I really got to experience that because after my time in Turkey, which was 8 days, I went straight on to Athens for a conference and spent a couple of extra days there. Completely different world. I mean, there might be similarities in the beautiful aubergine dishes and, and wonderful olives and food that they're serving, but that seems to be it. And they're both very proud countries with very strong history, so they probably don't like to be bulked together anyway.
No, they don't. It sounds a little bit like France and England to me, but anyhow. I think Turkey is it's one of those really mysterious, wonderful, magical experiences, and I don't think unless you've been there you can, or maybe you can, being so wonderful with words and so articulate, perhaps you can describe what is so different about visiting Turkey, for example. I mean, you can go all over Western Europe, you can go to Asia, but Turkey to me is just something special.
That's true, and thank you. And I just feel I love traveling to places, it's probably the African in me, that have a tiny element of chaos to them. I'm happier there and much more at home. I'm not good in destinations that have so many rules that I get into a fluster. So for me, Turkey has a mystique to it. It's kind of Arabian Nights, meets beautiful flavors and aromas. It's a Muslim country, and yet it has as its national drink an alcoholic beverage. So it's really embracing all. It has such a strong history. It's part Asia. Where else can you be in Asia for breakfast and, in Europe for lunch? So it's the Bosphorus, which forms, the water canal that we all get to, well, we did get to actually have a cruise on. It's steeped in history. And I just thought that the mosques, you look at these beautiful, beautiful buildings and the architecture, and it's just hard to imagine how they were actually built all these hundreds of years ago. I went to the new mosque. It was about 300 years old. So I thought, well, so I think for me, Turkey, and I'm talking in my mind, I'm thinking about the areas that I visited, which were time in Istanbul, and looking at some of the main attractions there. And then we went down to visit a very historic and significant World War I battlefield site, Anzac Cove. And then we moved up to the Izmir region, which is so beautiful, right on the coast as well. And we had an experience which is called, which Trafalgar offer, which is a Be My Guest experience. And we actually ate in a home with the family, which really was the highlight. We visited the Trojan Horse. We went to see Ephesus. We walked those marbles, that walkway of marble with the views down to the ocean, and learned about the history. And I petted the cats and the dogs. And for me, when I look at Turkey, I feel like I'm only just getting started, that I've just been teased by all that it has to offer.
Yes, I think one has to cast aside all the preconceived ideas you have when you visit a country like Turkey.
Yes, exactly. And I think preconceived ideas are killers when it comes to most travel plans. Turkey is a very easy destination for South Africans. Turkish Airlines flies out of Cape Town and out of Johannesburg. Your visa arrangements are very easy. They have an online visa application. So you just actually go on, fill in all of your details, print out a piece of paper, and when you arrive, that's what you present. Again, an absolute blessing when it comes to a place that you want to stay at. It's not that expensive if you're clever. If you want to go and eat in top restaurants and rooftop bars, you'll have a wonderful experience, but you don't have to do that every single day. And the advantage of traveling with the group, talking about preconceived ideas, is that most people think that they would be incredibly restricted and shuffled around and just sort of get a glimpse from the coach, but it was nothing like that at all.
Well, this is what I wanted to talk to you about specifically, because, we're not on the program to punt any specific company or tour operator or whatever, but I specifically wanted to talk to you about your Trafalgar guided tour, because this is something I want to do myself, and I believe it is something that a lot of people would benefit from. I remember many, many years ago, these guided tours were literally push you from point A to point B to point C, and you barely had time to breathe in between. You couldn't really appreciate anything because you were being shuffled all over the show. And so I think that the modern day idea of guided tours so different to what we are used to. So this kind of guided tour, and you know what I also like about it, is they are generally fairly compact. You don't have 120 people. You have 20 or 30 or 40 people or whatever, depending on what tour you're on. And to me, and this is very important to me, there's the opportunity to meet people from other cultures from all over the world that are on these tours and to form new friendships. I have friends all over the world, Dawn, and to me, that is more important than just traveling and looking at pretty buildings and say, oh, I've been there.
Exactly. And well, I do a lot of traveling on my own, as you know, and I'm very, very difficult about being told what to do and where and when to do it.
We should start a club.
I think we would do well to travel together. But I just think, why be stuck in that idea? There are so many advantages of group travel that I wasn't aware of before I did this trip. And if we can put away all those preconceived ideas and allow an experienced company that really has the individual's interest at heart to make the arrangements and give you the best of a destination, it really is something that I can recommend. So it doesn't matter what age you are, what your interests are, really. There are some wonderful options. And I think that what it does also offer is that you've got them breaking down the barriers. You've got a tour director who is answering questions and introducing parts of a country and the culture that you would probably never have learnt about. They've hand-selected the best restaurants. I mean, we went to a restaurant at the Spice Market in Istanbul that is the oldest restaurant in the country, and Audrey Hepburn had actually dined there. She had dined there with her husband and her boyfriend at the same time, so I thought that was quite the woman. So, they've given it some thought. We went to the Gavin Tolman from the Trafalgar Group was actually traveling with us for a few days, and he took us to a woman who makes Turkish delight at the Spice Market. I mean, there must be people making Turkish delight all over that city and country, but this one, she's so bold in her flavors, and we just, the whole time we were on the coach, if they weren't making us coffee and offering us water, they were serving us Turkish delight with saffron and just these rose petals and just these incredible flavors. So I actually say I'm not quite sure when it happened. Like, you get on that bus and you're a little bit nervous and you look around and you smile and you say hello and you introduce yourself, and then
wonder how this is going to go.
And and the tour director is welcoming you, and then before you know it, you're actually friends. And I'm not sure when that switch happens, but it definitely happens. And you get to experience this country, this place, these cities, these destinations, not only through your own perspective, and you can find your quiet place and be contemplative, but rather through everyone else's eyes as well, because you're having conversations with people from Malaysia and Australia and America and Canada and Europe, and so you're sharing what your perception is with them and theirs, and I think it completely enhances everything. And they certainly do create the opportunity to see and do things that you wouldn't be able to arrange as an independent traveller.
Well, we're going to continue talking about this, because this is the kind of experience that I feel at this stage I would love to do, to go on a guided tour like that. And as you say, see things through someone else's eyes. I feel as if I've been there, seen it, done it all so many times. And I feel I've just been itching to do something like that. And I'm sure a lot of people have been, and perhaps a little unsure as I was until I became more and more involved with how these guided tours work. And now I certainly feel this is something I'm really looking forward to doing. Well, we're going to have a little bit of a musical break, and then we'll continue talking to Dawn Jurgensen about her trip to Turkey. listening to the strains of Mike Batt with Caravans, we can continue talking to Dawn Jorgensen on Passport to the World about her trip to Turkey. And I just feel like packing my bags and going again. It is one of the most amazing destinations. But I can promise you, the next time I go, I'm going to go on the guided tour.
I think that's a good idea, Cathy. I actually now only want to go back on a guided tour, and I never thought I'd say those words. But it was other things as well. You never have to queue anywhere. Everything's already pre-booked and arranged. Your check-in at the hotels takes just minutes because everything's already preordained.
And you don't have to drag your luggage around.
You don't have to drag your luggage. You just stick it outside your room at the prescribed time and it just magically appears on the coach. So, I mean, you actually are so spoiled by the end. I think next time I travel on my own, I'm going to leave my bag somewhere. So there are all of those things. But I think for me, the highlight of the trip and the best thing that I got out of traveling with Trafalgar was the Be My Guest experience. We actually do travel. I think it's quite possible to go to another country and not interact with local people. And it's almost criminal to do so. You know, you can go and the only conversations you end up having are with the waiter or the reception girl. And a lot of people I know actually travel like that. And it really makes me sad because the whole point of travel should be about interacting and the culture and learning and being humbled by the people whose countries we're actually in. So the Be My Guest experience is this idea of going and having a meal in the home of local people. And it's offered in many countries that they have as destinations. And in Turkey, we went to a little town just outside Izmir with a population of about 200. As the coach drove up on this cobbly, bumpy road, all the women were dressed up in their finest traditional Turkish clothing, and it was just so beautiful. I've got lots of photos of this on my blog. Actually, I took so many photos, it's actually crazy.
Just remind us of your blog so we can go and have a look.
Oh, of course. It's theincidentaltourist.com, and if in search you just put Turkey, all of these images will come up. Thank you. But what happened is, because there were about 30 of us, they had divided us into groups of 4. And we went with these families. And I was in a little group of 4, and this beautiful woman took me up and around the corner on the hill of this village, which overlooked nut growing trees, nut trees and olive trees, and they were actually harvesting from there for their own homes, and sat us down in her lounge around a little table, and her husband joined us, and there was a granny who was so old and bent over and just so charming that was in the kitchen helping with the food prep, and we didn't have any word to communicate.
I was going to say they don't speak Turkish, especially the older people.
Exactly, there was no English. So what we did is we drew in our books and we wrote in our books, and she just brought out plates and plates of these beautiful dishes. And I actually eat entirely vegetarian, especially when I travel, and I think it is just heaven for vegetarians. And I'm completely in love with the aubergine dishes of any variety that they can offer. And we spent at least 2 hours eating and chatting. By the end of it, we had told them about our children. We knew about their children. I'd had chats with Granny, which weren't really chats. And we were laughing and I learned about their village, what they do, where they work, how they'd met. And I just think that to be given that opportunity, I could never organize that myself. And it certainly was a highlight of my experience.
Sounds absolutely wonderful. And as I mentioned to you during the break, this is what I hope to be doing in July. Something similar to that, where we have this, Be My Guest experience as well. And I'm really looking forward to that because I am so anti, these Lani hotels. And I mean, it's all very well to go to a 5-star hotel and be spoiled rotten. And I mean, some of them are ridiculous, even have your own butler and all this kind of thing, which is wonderful. You have to write about it. But thank you, one night and off I go. Yeah. And then I will go to a little chalet or a pensione or whatever the case may be. Because to me, like you cannot experience. To me, it's a waste of travel if you're just going to be traveling around, not communicating with anyone or interacting with anyone, looking at all these wonderful buildings, not really knowing what the history of the place is about or anything like that. To me, travel is supposed to be an enrichment.
It is exactly right. And sometimes, not that I'm completely grateful for all the opportunities and the experiences that I have, but sometimes the rooms start to look the same, wherever you are. If you're in an African city or in a European city or you're in the States, all of a sudden the rooms look the same. So I think I am such a believer that we need to bring travel back to the basics, to real experiences. And you don't have to compromise on your luxury. You can have your luxury at night and your aircon and your spa if you want that. But during the day, I really think we need to make those moments count and get as much of a local experience as we can.
And of course, the way to do that, as you said, is to interact with people. And what I like about what you mentioned with the tours, Dawn, is the fact that you meet people from all over the world on the tour, and you get to see things and hear things understand their perspective. And I'm sure you make friends as well, which to me is terribly important. I mean, I have friends all over the world. They come and visit me when I'm overseas. I'll pop in and visit them. And to me, that is what traveling is about.
Definitely, it is. And I think we should hope to make friends in the countries we visit. But if you can make friends with the people you're traveling with, it really just is an extra thing that you're being given. So it was like that. Yeah, and I'm actually in touch with so many of the people that I met. And I actually sometimes call it collecting people around the world, because I really feel like I am. And I know, like you, that if I go to almost any country I'm going to have that I've been to, I'm going to have someone I can go and stay with. And my home is exactly the same. Oh, you're visiting, come and stay with me.
Well, exactly.
And it must make the world smaller. I mean,
well, it does. And it also, to me, people say to me, oh, you must be so sort of blasé when it comes to travel. And I say, absolutely not. When I'm traveling somewhere, I don't think about the country so much as, oh, I'm going to see so-and-so again. Oh, it's going to be so great to spend a weekend with so-and-so. It's meeting up with these people again, because how often do you see one another? Perhaps only once a year or twice a year or once every 2 years, whatever. So it's the excitement of having the contact with the people from those countries, to me, is almost more exciting than actually going to the country itself.
Yeah, it's very important. And I mean, group travel certainly is going to give you a whole lot of friends. And, I think if you can have a wonderful experience, learn a lot about a country, have these insider looks at the destination and come away with friends, then you can't really ask for more from travel.
Well, my mom always used to say about travel, she used to say to me, don't waste the experience. And I know what she meant by that now. You can travel all over the show and not really gain anything by it. And, you don't have that interaction and so on. And I say on this program time and time, probably to the point of boredom, communicate with people, interact with people, eat their food. And speaking of food, of course, the food in Turkey is something else. And also another thing is to respect people's customs.
Definitely. And I think that when it comes to a place like Turkey, that it's very important to remember that it's a place where modesty counts. I have a travel trick that I always have scarves in my handbag. I don't go out for a day without 2 scarves. And I think that'll really help you a lot while you're traveling in Turkey. When you go and visit the Blue Mosque, just even when you're going to visit people, especially if you're there in the summer and the weather is really hot and you're in shorts and or a little summery dress, just have something that you can tie around your shoulders, tie around your waist, and offer that respect, because we are actually guests in their country, and it's the least that we can do.
Absolutely, something that we really need to pay attention to.
Can I, just talking food?
Yes.
I do want to mention one restaurant in Istanbul. It's called Canteen, and it's run by the owner chef Semsa Denizel. I don't know how to say that properly, but she actually founded the slow food movement in Turkey.
Oh, interesting.
And it's Kantin, Canteen, and you can have a look at that online. And it's a deli with a restaurant upstairs and the most incredible food that you can imagine.
That's fabulous. Everything under one roof.
If you're a foodie, you can't really go to Istanbul without popping in there.
Well, there you go. That's a good bit of advice for my next trip. And something else we have to talk about before we get to the traffic, which is something one has to take into consideration when visiting somewhere like Istanbul especially, the dogs and the cats.
I know. Well, I'm a huge animal lover, and what I loved about the policy towards animals in Turkey is that all the stray dogs belong to the country. So they're all looked after by that neighborhood or that area that they're found in. They're tagged, they're inoculated, and they have little color-coded name badges around their necks, and they're fed. And this just warmed my heart to such a point. And people say, well, where do they get affection? Well, from all of us. I mean, I think that everyone who walks past these beautiful dogs, which seem to be a breed of their own on the streets, they just look so well cared for, and they're up for a cuddle at any point. And it's just so special to see. And then at a place like Ephesus, I mean, I think the days of of the lavish lifestyle might be over, but the ruins are probably of the best preserved that you would find in the world. But it is completely occupied by cats. So in between being in awe of these incredible marble columns and pathways, you have cats of every shade of color that you can imagine just popping up and saying hello and give me a stroke and a curved back. So yeah, that's
well, I had to mention the dogs and cats, you see, because that is also another unique experience in Turkey, of course, the dogs and the cats. And tell me a little bit about, what time of year would you think is the best time to go to Turkey? Because I think that's important as well.
It is important.
In fact, for any destination, find out about the weather first.
Exactly. I'm told the best time is April to June, and then again September to October when it's cooled down. I was there in October and the weather was perfect. I also highly recommend that you go to the goturkey.com website. It is their actual official tourism website, and they have an incredible amount of information available on there. And if you're looking at a group tour, then please have a look at Trafalgar.
And the other nice thing about group tours before we wrap, Dawn, no traffic problems.
No traffic problems.
You don't have to battle the
exactly.
horrendous traffic in Istanbul.
Yes, we're not going to be naive about it. Istanbul has crazy traffic, and to be in a coach, relaxed, chatting to your new friends is a much better option than trying to navigate it.
Well, there you go. This is why I'm trying very hard to punt the guided tours this morning, because it's something not only that am I looking forward to doing again after many, many years, because it has changed. And thank you very much for giving us so much insight into the group touring.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Cathy. I appreciate it.
It was lovely to have you in, Dawn. Well, we chatted to Dawn Jorgensen today about her trip to Turkey, and I'm hoping that Dawn, being so well-travelled and gets me all excited about travelling to these destinations again, that she will join us again in the not-too-distant future. Well, I hope you enjoyed our chat today on Passport to the World, and that you'll join us again same time next week. Until then, happy travels.
Good news, travellers. Switzerland's leading leisure airline, Edelweiss Air, is resuming its schedule with 2 to 3 weekly non-stop flights between Cape Town and Zurich from the 30th of September to the 5th of May 2015. And boy, are you in for a surprise. Weekly flights feature new lie-flat seats in business class and Economy Max with 15 centimeters more legroom. Log on to flyedelweiss.com or swiss.com and book your flight now.